Hey everyone, my name is Marco Brown. I'm a divorce attorney here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I own Brown Family Law. Going to come to you today and talk to you about the number one question that you should be answering about your law firm. So, I'm making some assumptions here, and some of the assumptions are when you own your own law firm, which is a pretty good assumption because about 56% of American attorneys are solos. So they're either true solos or they have somebody else in the office with them who does something else. So, they're kind of a dyad with another attorney, but really they just do their own thing, which is really just a solo. So that accounts for about 56% of American attorneys. So I'm talking to the majority of American attorneys here. But really, this is the number one question that you should be asking about your law firm, no matter when you are, where you are in the process of having your law firm. And, you can even ask yourself this question as just a law firm of one, right? So let's say that you work for a large firm, but maybe you want to get out, maybe you want to do something different. You can ask yourself this question and run through the analysis that we're going to go through. And it's really going to help you in your career. So even if you work for a firm with 5, 7, 10, 100 attorneys, right? So it's valuable for everybody, but I'm speaking mostly to people that own their own law firms. And the reason for that is I did this. I own my own law firm. I worked for a 50, 60 guy shop in New Mexico doing insurance defense, which is terrible. And then left in 2010, opened my own law firm here in Salt Lake. And I knew nothing about the business. I knew nothing about business in general. My parents were government workers in Alaska. I grew up in this little tiny village called Cold Bay, 85 people. So my dad ran a salmon hatchery and my mom was an air traffic controller. So they never did anything business related, had no idea how to do any of that. Law school, of course, doesn't teach you any of that. So I had to figure this stuff out. And this is one of the things I learned, unfortunately, a few years into my law firm. And this is one of the things I learned is ask yourself this question about your law firm, and it's going to save you tons and tons of time, money, and heartache. So let's get into what that question is. And the question is, what is the purpose of your law firm? Okay, I should actually write this out here on a banner. So let me do that. One second. So the question is, what is the purpose of your law firm? Okay. That is really the question we're going to talk about today. And why is this the most important question that you can ask about your law firm or really about your legal career? And, again, this even extends to law students. So if you're a law student and you're trying to figure out what to do, ask yourself this question: what is the purpose of my legal career? Right? But you ask yourself this, and why is that the most important question? Well, because it will determine everything you do in your law firm for probably the next 20 to 40 years, because you got to figure you're going to do this. If you're an attorney, you're going to do this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Okay. You're going to make a career out of this. So figure this out. But it is going to determine your behaviors for the next decades to come. So this is really, really an important question. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I mean by this and the differences between the answer to this question. So let's go over example number one. And I just want to say this up front. There are no wrong answers to this question. What is the purpose of my law firm? If the purpose of your law firm is to simply create a job for you to work in because you want some income, then that's totally okay. Not everybody wants to have, not everybody wants to be Kirkland and Ellis, right? I don't know why people work at Kirkland and Ellis. I have no idea. I wanted to create something entirely different from Kirkland and Ellis. So I went and did that. But, if you just want it to be you, then that's okay. There are no wrong answers when it comes to this question. It's just determining the answer to the question so you can behave in a way that's consonant with that answer. So let's give you a couple examples. So example number one is, your law firm is really a job to make you middle-class money, work in your career as an attorney. Okay. So you sit down with yourself, you think, that's what I want. I really just want a job I go to every day and I make middle-class money because I want to go home at night and I don't want too much stress and I want to be with my family and I want to take vacations. That's the kind of life you want to live. totally fine. Okay. Answering that question in that way is going to mean that you act in a certain way that's consonant with the answer to that question. Okay. So here's some things you're probably going to do if this is the answer to your question to make middle class money working a job. You're going to start as and remain a solo for probably your entire career. Now, maybe you get the entrepreneurial itch to hire an associate. Uh, Maybe you get a couple paralegals under you, something like that. But this is a progression. This happens with lots of attorneys. What they'll do is they'll hire an associate. They hire two associates maybe, and then they figure out, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to manage people. Like, I just want this. I just want a lawyer, and that's really it. And so they'll fire those associates over time because they just don't want to do the management of a law firm. They don't want to do the business side of a law firm, right? Because they just want to make middle class money and go home, and that's okay. But you're probably going to start out as a solo. Maybe you hire somebody and then you drop them, and you're probably going to remain a solo for the vast majority of your career. Okay. So number two, you hire a receptionist and a paralegal because you'll need them, but you're never going to hire 4 paralegals or 3 receptionists or 5 intake people to deal with the volume of calls, because that's not the type of law firm you want. The type of law firm you want is one where you can have 30, 40 clients at a time, and you can manage that with a paralegal, and you just want to go home, right? That's fine. Again, you're behaving in such a way that's consonant with the answer to the question, what is the purpose of my law firm? The third thing, you're probably not going to bother systematizing your law firm all that well. I mean, you're going to have an idea. You might have some things written down, but you're probably not going to take the time to write down everything that you do like you need to if you have a larger law firm. So larger law firms, for example, us, we have a script that we go through when we meet with clients, because I've met with over 10,000 people. I've developed a sales script. I've developed a closing script. So I actually have a book with these things in it, but I had to sit down, I had to write that out. I had to refine that over time. Met with over 10,000 people. So, experimenting, you're probably not going to do that sort of thing if it's just you, because the way you do things is going to be sufficient enough, right? And you can keep all of that in your head, and that's going to be okay. Your paralegal, very much the same way. You're probably not going to have your paralegal write down, this is exactly how the mail gets sorted, or the exact way that I get pleadings from the court and then go to the attorney, our method of communication every week. You're probably not writing these things down because you don't really need to. The paralegal just kind of knows what the paralegal does, and you kind of know what the paralegal does, and that's okay, because again, you have 30, 40 clients, and that's perfect. That's perfect to make middle class money, and that's good for you. Okay. So you never really bother systematizing the law firm. And 4, you're always going to make middle class money, because if your answer to this question, what's the purpose of my law firm? To make middle class money, that is the answer, then you're always going to make middle class money. You are never going to make like 1%er money if that's the answer to it. And again, that's totally fine if that's your deal. But if you want to make 1% money, then you have to answer the question in a different way. So if you answer it, I'm going to make middle class money, just realize that's all you're going to make for your entire career. Okay. So that's example number 1. If your answer to the question is, I want to make middle class money and go home and have a life. Okay. So let's move on to example number 2. And the answer to the question, what is the purpose of my law firm, is this. Law firm is a business designed to create time freedom and intergenerational wealth. Okay, see, that is a very, very different answer to the question, what's the purpose of my law firm, than example number 1. And example number 2 is going to lead to entirely different behaviors for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Okay. So in example number 2, these are going to be some of the behaviors. You're going to have to create systems to collect as close to 100% for the work you do as humanly possible. Okay. If you want to create time, wealth, and time freedom and intergenerational wealth, like indestructible intergenerational wealth from your law firm, then you have to collect at really, really close to 100%. You cannot collect it at 50%. You cannot collect at 70%. You have to collect very, very close to 100%, which means that you have to have a system in place to make that happen. Okay. And you have to be very, very intentional about it. You have to write it down. Like, this is how we do things in the law firm. And this is when we stop work. This is how we talk to clients. This is the email we send them when their card declines. Like, you got it. You got to figure all this stuff out. You got to systematize all of that. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you have to charge premium rates for the work you do so you can hire staff and the best attorneys. Okay. So if you want to create time freedom where you don't have to be in the office making bank, right? You can have other people do that for you, because that's the only time, the only way as attorneys that we create time freedom is to leverage people, right? So, or you just, there's another way, and it's you charge so much money that you just don't have to work that many hours. But I know almost no attorneys in the United States that do that. So really, it's about leveraging people. But you have to charge premium rates, because if you don't charge premium rates, you're not going to be able to hire the attorneys and the paralegals that are good enough to do the work that will allow you to take time off. Okay. So if you don't charge that much and you hire kind of mediocre attorneys or middle of the road attorneys, you're always going to have to be watching them like a hawk all the time. Okay. And that doesn't create time freedom. I mean, it creates a little more time freedom than you just doing everything and being a rat on a wheel. But to really get the people, players as paralegals and attorneys, you have to charge premium rates to do that. Because when you hire players, when you hire for excellence, you have to pay for excellence, then you expect excellence. And that's when you get time that you can go away for a month, that you can go away for 2 months, that you can do these things. Okay. So that's a very, very different thought process than I'm just going to make middle class money. This, you got to charge those premium rates. Okay. So number three, so you have to systematize your law firm so that you're not physically present. You don't have to be physically present. So this means that you're writing things down, that you're talking with everybody. This is how we do X. This is how we do Y. We have these things written down. You're making videos about systematizing your law firm. That's really the only way. And hiring players, right? These are really the only ways that you're going to create that type of freedom to be able to go places, and also to create the kind of wealth that you need to create intergenerational wealth. Okay. So for example, one of the things I decided years and years ago was I decided I was going to be able to run Brown Law from any point on earth on a cell phone. Okay. And we're at that point now. We don't really have paper. Like, I can go away. I can be in Italy because I go to Italy a lot. I can be in Italy. I can be in Venice, and I can run the entire law firm from my cell phone. Okay. But I had to decide that 10 years ago and then work toward that. Right. So it's very, very important that you make this determination. This is why we're talking about this. You got to answer the question. You have to behave in a manner that's consonant with the answer to that question. Okay. So number four, you have to expand. If you want to create time freedom and intergenerational wealth, you have to expand. You have to hire people. And this is the difference between the answers to these two questions, because if you want to stay middle class as an attorney, then you don't have to expand. It's probably easier for you just to do everything and you make your middle class money. But if you want to create indestructible wealth, you have to expand. You have to hire people. You have to leverage people. You have to charge these premium rates. You have to do these things. Otherwise, it's just not going to work for you. And keep this in mind. This is where a lot of attorneys get tripped up, because they hire an associate and they hire a paralegal, and then they have a bad experience with a paralegal because that's just the way these things go. And then they say, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to do everything because it's easier. Look, it's not easier. I have gone through this personally. I went through this in 2012 to 2015. Okay. I was doing everything, every court appearance, everything. I had one attorney on a contract basis that was kind of helping out, and then like a part-time paralegal. Okay. I was up to my eyeballs every day and I hated it. And I let myself get fat during that period of time. And my spirituality was not good. And the relationship with my family was not good. Right. Because I was just in it so much. And I thought, it's just easier for me to control everything and to do it. And then I got a business coach. And one of the first things he told me was, look, you can't do this. Okay. It's actually much easier to run a business that is large than it is to run a business that is small. And I thought he was up in the night, but I thought, okay, guy has a lot more money than me. He runs a large corporation. Let's see if he's right. So I did what he told me to do, and we grew. And it is exponentially easier to manage a larger corporation, a larger business than it is a smaller business. Okay. You just, you have good people that can do things for you. You're not doing everything yourself, but you also have to, you have to understand that with that, you're going to have some HR problems. You're going to have people that don't work, right? So you have to, again, have enough money to be able to fire those people and to bring on A players. But you just have to realize that's going to happen and accept that as growing pains. But as you expand, it gets much, much easier to run an organization than it is just to do it on your own. Okay. So number 4 is expand. And then behavior number 5, work constantly to make more money by providing more value to your clients. Okay. So if you want to create, again, time freedom and intergenerational wealth, because that is the answer to the question, was the purpose of your law firm, then you're going to have to work and work and work. How do I create more value to my clients? How do I create more value to my employees, right? Because you got to give to your employees. You have to train them to be the best they can be. And you have to train them in such a way that if they want to leave you, then they have all the skill set to leave you. And that's really scary. And a lot of attorneys don't do that, but that's the way you got to treat your employees. Okay. And you have to create more and more value for your clients. You have to find different ways to make that happen because you're going to charge higher and higher rates eventually, right? And you're going to help more and more people. And the only way to do that is to increase the value that you're giving to people. Okay. And then number 6, you're going to create a plan for your money that includes investing your income into appreciating assets that pay you. Okay. That's like super specific. But if you want to use your law firm to create intergenerational wealth, and what I mean by intergenerational wealth is not just wealth for you right now, that's income, but wealth for your kids and your kids' kids. Okay. If you want to do that for future generations, 2 generations in the future, then you're going to have to amass some wealth. All right. And only way you can do that is by taking the income that flows off of the law firm and investing that into appreciating assets. Okay. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm not an investment guy. I'm not going to tell you how to do this. I can tell you how I've done it. But everybody's going to be different because they have different risk tolerances and so on. Like I've made a play into, we just bought this office, for example, and this is a play into real estate, and this is going to make me large amounts of money in the future and save huge amounts on taxes and depreciation, all sorts of things. But that's how I chose to do it. A lot of other people, they just put it in stocks, and because they don't ever want to think about anything, they just want to place to put their money that appreciates over time, and stocks do that perfectly well. And if that's what you want to do, then great. That's totally cool. Maybe you find some dividend stocks that, throw off some cash every once in a while and you reinvest the dividends. That's okay. If that's your risk tolerance, that's great. Other people will play crypto because they're really into that, right? Like that's their jam. They like that sort of thing. Okay. I don't really do that because I think the volatility is such that I don't really enjoy that. I'd much rather put it in a physical asset that I know I can get money from, that's going to pay me. But, generally speaking, cryptos are going to go up in value. So great. If that's your deal. Great. But find your vehicle and then take the money that you get from your law firm and realize that it's not simply an income making machine for you, but it's a wealth creation machine. And this is what most attorneys just don't get when they look at their law firm. They just think about it as income that's coming to them, right? And that they're having to pay out to their employees. But you got to change your mindset. If the answer to this question, what is the purpose of your law firm, is to create time freedom and intergenerational wealth. Okay. So again, answering that question this way means that you have to act in an entirely different way than example number 1, which was, I just want to make middle-class money and have a job to go to. Okay. So you see how this functions. 2 totally different answers to this question leads to entirely different behaviors over time. Okay. So those are the 2 examples. But really, again, the answer to this question, what is the purpose of your law firm, is going to determine how you personally act for the next 20 to 40 years. And beyond the examples I gave, it is going to determine what books you read. If you're just doing this for income and middle class lifestyle, then you're going to read fiction books. You're going to just read whatever, right? If you're into this to create intergenerational wealth, indestructible wealth from your law firm, then and expand and do all these things, then you're going to have to read different types of books. You're going to have to read How to Systematize Your Law Firm. I think John Fisher wrote that. I might be getting the title incorrect, but you're going to read business books. You're going to read investing books. You're going to read lots and lots of nonfiction to help you figure this out. And that's what I've done. I've read hundreds of these books because, again, my parents were government workers in Alaska in a small town, right? What do I know about business? I got to learn from these people. So I learn from anybody I can when it comes to business. I've read hundreds of these books over time because I answered this question in a very specific way a long time ago. So it's going to determine what kind of books you read. It'll determine who you interact with. So if you really, really want to ramp up and be very good at what you do and live at like this really high level and create a large law firm, then you're going to have different friends than if you are in like the lower end of a law firm, making kind of lower class money or middle class money. It's just the way it is. Like, you need to surround yourself with different types of people in order to make this happen for you. So the answer to this question is to determine what kind of friends you have, who you hang out with, how often you take vacations, what type of vacations you take. Because once you get to the point where you have time freedom and you can take a month off or 2 months off, you're probably not going to spend that in like Phoenix, right? You're probably going to go to you go to Belize for a couple months or go to Italy or something like that. So it's going to affect how long you take vacations, where you take vacations. It's going to affect where your kids go to school. Like, are you going to have the money to send your children to private school if you want to make that determination? Maybe you want them to go to religious schools. Those cost money, right? It's a lot easier to do if you have more money than if you're just working this as a middle class job, kind of idea as a law firm. So it's going to affect where your kids go to school, the kind of house you live in. It's really going to affect every part of your life. And the sooner why am I talking about this now? I'm talking about this now to help people answer this question right now, because the sooner you answer this question, the sooner you get clear on your answer, the sooner you can start acting in a way that's consonant with it. So this was my big mistake when I first started. Was I literally just started the law firm and I had no direction at all. My only direction was I need to make enough money to eat, and that was really it. So I took everything in the beginning, and that was a horrible mistake. Now looking back on it, I wish I'd answered this question up front and then acted consonant with that answer. Okay. I probably spent 5 years, 5 or 6 years, actually, at the beginning of my law firm, just walking in the wilderness, letting things happen to me, being reactive instead of being proactive. And if I'd answered this question up front, then I would have saved myself those 5 or 6 years. And my everything right now would be kind of light years ahead of where it is. Doing okay now, but it would be light years ahead because I would have spent those 5 or 6 years really focused on this one thing and how, that answer to that question, having the types of friends, creating the types of systems that allow that to happen, so on and so forth. So I really wish I had done that. And that's the purpose of this live stream, is to let you know the mistake I made and then allow you to answer this question and then not spend those 5 or 6 years that I spent just walking in the wilderness, right? Because again, when you walk in the wilderness and you haven't answered this question, what's going to happen is your clients are going to control you. The expectations of other attorneys are going to control you. The expectations of your family are going to control you as well. Okay. So don't let that happen to you. Like, figure out what your path is, figure out what the purpose of your law firm is, and then act that way. Okay. You get to tell your law firm what it is. You get to tell other attorneys what you do. You get to tell your clients, no, I'm not working on your case. No, I'm not going to do this work when you haven't paid me, right? Like, all of these behaviors are dependent on the answer to the question, what is the purpose of your law firm? So again, if you don't answer it, everybody's acting on you. if you do answer this and you behave consonant with the answer to this question, then you are going to tell people who you are. You are going to tell people what you are going to do, and then you are going to make that happen. And when you do that, when you get proactive and get this locked down, you're going to see your law firm change in very dramatic ways, and you're going to see your life change in very dramatic ways. You're going to pay off debt. You're going to make a lot more money, likely, depending on the answer to your question, but the answer to the question, but you're very likely to make quite a bit more money, take back your time, have a better relationship with your family, enjoy your work more. You will simply enjoy your work more. I enjoy this law firm that I've created now 100 times more than the law firm I had in the beginning. Let me tell you, that law firm in the beginning was just a means for me not to die and my family not to die of starvation. Now I come to work every day thinking, all right, how are we going to expand this? I enjoy this. I enjoy the people I work with. Like, let's do this, right? It's a totally different mindset. But I could never have done that unless I answered this question: what was the purpose of my law firm? So that's the end of the presentation. If anybody has any questions, they can certainly message me. I'm happy to help anybody through this process. And I'm not your guide or your guru or anything like that. But if you have questions, I'm happy to be there. I don't do pro bono cases because I've done like 4,000 divorce cases. Why do I need to do another divorce case? I just want to help attorneys figure out where they need to go and kind of how to solve the problems that they find themselves in right now. That gives me a tremendous amount of satisfaction as a human being, helping colleagues do that. So if you need that sort of help or assistance, like, drop me a line. I'll help you however I can. So I appreciate you being here, and we'll be here again next week. Thanks, everyone.